Hello, everybody. What is going on? It is a Friday night, and we are all here with Grammy Award winner Jake, not Kaufman, but Silverman. Oh man, how you doing, Jake?
I'm doing great, man. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely, man. What a pleasure. I was just thinking, it was really nice to get a chance to meet you at Mag West and to see you do your thing like live and in person. That was a really good time. I just wanted to
It
say it was
was really fun. It was really cool to come out and be at that and hang out with everybody, and yeah, it was
yeah.
great. I was
You
really tired the whole time, but it was great.
you looked pretty wiped after you
Dude,
said you were just like,
I was like on no sleep, and I was yeah, that it was definitely a marathon. My set was super late, and yeah, still
right.
on East Coast time when I was over there, but
We almost got you on the Bravo bus, but maybe next year.
I
Maybe next
literally yeah, it was close, but I was just like, yeah, I was in brutal shape for sure.
year. Oh,
Yeah.
that's awesome, man. Well, I mean, I also just got to say that I'm just like a really big fan of what you do artistically.
Thank you, man.
Um, just like the way that you go about your arrangements, reharmonization, the riffing and solos that you do, just like absolutely top-notch craftsmanship right there. So
Thank you, man.
again,
You
super.
hosted me for the past like 2 years, I think, on Mag West. Uh
Yeah, yeah.
and on your own thing on bonus stage. Yeah.
Well, it's been a wonderful 2 years. I
Yeah.
won't say all thanks to you, but many thanks to you for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's really cool to have you here now to talk about your latest release. And one of the things I guess we should say about this album is that these are it feels kind of like a compilation because well, actually, I think all of these tracks have been released previously on your
Yes.
YouTube channel as
Yep,
well.
that's correct.
Yeah. So I guess I wanted to ask out of the gate, like, what spurred you to arrange these tracks into a single package and to release it the way you did?
Yeah, you know, there's a well, like the thing that kind of inspired the project was I I mean I've been doing chiptune stuff for a while, but I met this guy, and some of your viewers might know him, Sam Asher Weiss, also known as Schnaboobala.
Oh, Shnabubula, yes.
Yeah. And listening to him kind of made me realize that this chiptune stuff can go very, very, very deep. Like you can go really far down a rabbit hole, and there's like, there's a lot of technique involved with this music, and he, when I was investigating his 8-bit music in particular, I was like, I just had to know, like, how is this guy making this stuff, like in terms of the effects and the overall sound. Like I was just like completely um enraptured by his approach to the music. And so he that's how I discovered Famitracker. So he showed me Famitracker, and initially I was like, I'm not going to be able to learn this. Like this is just too this is so far removed from what I've been doing that it just seems ridiculous. And for a while, I what I was doing was like trying to make hardware accurate chiptune in Ableton, like using techniques that I was learning from, studying his music and listening to his music. Which, I have a few tracks that are pretty authentic results of that, like the Pokemon arrangement I did on 90s Kid. That's like basically a VRC6 arrangement of the Pokemon theme.
Hmm.
And a lot of those techniques come straight from Schnaboobala and straight from just like listening to stems from his Famitracker exports. But eventually I came around to to Sega Genesis music, and I was trying to make like hardware accurate Sega Genesis music, but the plugin that I was using uh wouldn't allow me to really automate between more than like 2 patches for each channel. And that was like a little frustrating for me. And I asked Sam about it. I was like, Sam, like, how do I get around this? He's like, you need to learn trackers. Like, you need to learn how to use a tracker. That's the solution. Because in a tracker, you have a menu of instruments, which are basically your presets. And it's in a tracker to cycle through those presets. It's literally as easy as typing a number. And this perspective kind of, or like learning this among other things, kind of realize, wow, like this actually, as crazy as working in a tracker looks, like this is going to open me up to a whole new perspective on writing and conceiving music. So I decided to start, like, even though I was trying to write Sega Genesis music, I decided to start with Famitracker, because that's kind of like, that gives you a really solid foundation. It's just the basics, um, and it's like really basic synthesis. It's just subtractive 8-bit synthesis, 2 oscillators or 3 oscillators, your triangle wave, your 2 square channels, and then a noise channel, and then a sample channel.
Mhm.
um and ever since then, I mean, I've been hooked. So I decided to start making music with Famitracker. And my approach with content and with albums is just like, put the stuff out there. Like, just be fearless about it. Don't like be so precious over your music that like it never gets released. I just like am constantly putting stuff out because I'm constantly working on stuff, and it gets better every time, you know. And I just like try to not get too wrapped up in like, is this perfect? Is this exactly what I want? It's always going to get better if you just keep doing it, and you learn something new every time you sit down to write. So I was planning to release all of this stuff as a collection after I had done 7 tracks, because that's what counts as an album on Spotify. And I didn't want it to be listed as a single or an EP. Like, I wanted it to be listed as an album. So
Mhm.
I studied a lot of people's music. I got a lot of my friends who are really good with Famitracker, like this guy Promtastic, Dammy Fortune, this composer Hannah Lee. Like, all these people were very generous. They lent me a lot of resources, and I just like studied all of this stuff a lot. And then after I felt pretty comfortable with like using the software, I just started writing. And now that has opened me up to using other trackers to make other like hardware accurate chiptune. And it's been really fun and really cool. So that's pretty much the story. Tracker Vision Volume 1 is going to be part 1 of a series. So I'm going to be doing a different album for pretty much every sound chip. Well, not every sound chip. The sound chips that I'm most interested in. So I'm going to be doing like 4 sound chips that were on the NES, the Nintendo Entertainment System. I'll be doing Sega Genesis. I'll be doing PC 98. I'll be doing Neo Geo. I'll be doing what am I thinking? Like the Sega Arcade, which is a
Mm.
little different than the Sega Genesis.
Mhm.
And then I think I'm also gonna do I might do a Super Nintendo Tracker Vision album, but I like Super Nintendo is a little different because up until very, very, very recently, there hasn't been a dedicated tracker for the Super Nintendo. The sound chip is like very quirky and very specific. So but this guy who's working who's developing this like multi-system tracker is currently in the process of adding Super Nintendo to its capabilities. So yeah, that's the whole story behind Tracker Vision. That's what's going on there.
Wow. Well, you
Yeah.
answered what was going to be my follow-up question and ask about that, because you did bring up the Sega chip, and I was like, oh, is he gonna do it all? Is he gonna do all those chips
I'm
that he
gonna
wants?
do I'm gonna do all the ones that are of most interest to me. There's like, I mean, Furnace. If anybody here has used Furnace or checked out Furnace, it's the multi-system tracker I was just referring to. I mean, the guy has made it so that you can write music for all kinds of sound chips, and there are tons that I had never even heard of. Like, I mean, just dozens and dozens and dozens. Um,
Is that by Tildero on GitHub?
yep,
All right.
exactly. Tildero. He's we don't deserve him. He's too good to us. He like it is just absolute like this thing that I mean, here's the thing about chiptune. Like the way that I view chiptune and my role in all of this is like I think my number one goal as an artist is to help preserve this art form and this sound, because as soon as it didn't make sense for, or as soon as companies got the ability to use digital audio or things beyond like these sound chips, which are incredibly limited, they stopped using them. So chiptune has like pretty much, since that happened, has been at risk of completely just fading out of existence. Like, but only because of like the community that's around right now, like still making this stuff, is there any enthusiasm for that. So like I want more people to make chiptune, and I want more people to see the value in learning how to make this stuff, you know?
Well, I think using it as an instrument, especially the way that you do, is definitely inspiring. And yeah, I do hope that it inspires other people to compose, because those colored, like those sound palettes are just so unique, and like you said, they're at risk of extinction, as it were. We definitely don't want to see that, at least for our nostalgia. Uh,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like the other thing, I was talking about this. There's the chiptune artist and actually, he's more than just a chiptune artist. He's like an incredible electronic composer. His name's Keimer Ratio. And his brother Cryptovolans is another incredible. They're like two really, really mind-blowingly ridiculous electronic composers. And we were talking about this, and Chimeratio, like one of the reasons why he's so insistent on making music for these chips, it's not even just about preservation. He, in his view, because this music was around for such a short period of time. I mean, chip music was like a mainstream thing only from like, you know, the 80s to the late 90s, maybe, like chiptune and games. So
right.
like the potential of these instruments, and that's how you should think about these things. These sound chips are just synths, and the potential of these synths was not never really had a chance to be fully realized in terms of like the musical potential, especially when you think about the fact that like composers had to leave like two channels open for sound effects, so you couldn't even use the entire array of the sound chip. I mean, and a good friend of mine who's actually an amazing example of really exploring the depths that you can go to with these sounds is this guy Dammy Fortune. He makes some incredible music, and like he recently made some Super Nintendo music that uses like sampled field recordings and like all kinds of wild stuff. Like, and so yeah, like that's the thing, is like it's not, I guess it's not even just about preservation, but it's also about expanding on what's possible with these instruments. And I also, of course, like I'm really drawn to these sounds. Like it's something, it just speaks to me on a very visceral level. Like, I mean, I grew up with these consoles, I grew up playing these games. So that's like one thing, of course, the exposure, but it's also just like, it's just like indescribable. I'm just like obsessed with this stuff. I make this stuff all day, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, you really do. Everybody should definitely go and check out that YouTube link that I posted earlier, because Button Masher does release stuff pretty regularly. I'd say you've got quite a formidable collection of self-produced YouTube videos, and
Yeah.
definitely commend you for that. One of the other things that that really catches me about Button Masher as an artist is, of course, your pixel art style, and that is definitely apparent in the album art that we have here, as well as just like all over your YouTube. Do you want to talk a little bit about all of the amazing pixel art that you get done for you?
Yeah, so there's been like two main artists who I've worked with over the last few years, which are Pat's Pixels. That's Patrick Ackerman. Um, he's amazing. But I'm pretty sure he's working for a game developer now, and he's like pretty busy. So I haven't commissioned him in a long time. But he's incredible. He's one of my favorites. And then this guy, Normal Neighbor. He's my recent artist who I collaborate with like very often. And he's incredibly talented, incredibly efficient, and incredibly creative. And it is kind of interesting, like pixel art and chiptune. These things go together kind of like impressionistic classical music and impressionistic painting, like like Debussy and Monet.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
there's like there's definitely like that kind of a relationship. I mean, but these things were literally packaged together, when these games were coming out, so it makes sense, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, yeah.
right on, man. Well, you gave us a first here on Let's Listen, in that you wanted us to listen through the album in its entirety, no breaks, no pauses for discussion. So that is what we're going to be doing, folks. We are going to listen to the full brunt of Button Masher's latest album here. And furthermore, we are also going to be watching, because Jake has produced videos for all of these arrangements. They
Mhm.
are available on YouTube, but we're just gonna watch them all in a row, and we're going to be talking about the album for at length afterwards, I imagine. Jake, are you ready to go there, bud?
Let's do it.
Right on, folks. Here it is in its entirety. Tracker Vision Volume 1, 21A. Sorry, 2A
2A03.
03. Yes, thank you, Jake. All right, folks. We'll see you on the other side. Dang, folks, there it is. That's Tracker Vision Volume 1, 2A03. Jake, I, where should we start with this? I guess we should start with the first track there. Yeah, do you
Third
want
Sight.
to do you want to help us break this all down here? Third Sight. So the
Yeah.
first 5 tracks on this album were all original compositions. Tell us what the inspiration was for Third Sight.
Yeah, so well, this is for Third Sight is the first piece that I ever made in Famitracker. So, like that was like after I had spent a lot of time practicing and figuring out the software and studying other people's work. I decided I was like, okay, I'm ready. I can start writing. Like I'm comfortable enough. I know what everything is. Let's make some stuff. Um, so I, you know, I kind of just I started with like an intro that's kind of reminiscent of like Shovel Knight, like Jake Kaufman, Can't Resist, his
The other
um
Jake.
yeah, exactly. The other Jake chiptune artist with man at the end of his last name. But I was so like that and then like I mean with there's a lot to get into with like what I was thinking while I was writing this, but um basically uh I guess the best way I would describe it is this is me like really trying out all the techniques that I had compiled like up to that point. So like this one is like it's very short, but it's like really extra in terms of everything that I'm doing because it's just like, oh well, I just learned how to do this kind of arp. What if I tried this like right here? The title Third Sight. So like I was just telling Josh while we were muted, you guys couldn't hear us, but we were talking about I read a ton of books over the pandemic, and one of the book series I read was actually Star Wars. I read two Star Wars trilogies, which were the Thrawn trilogy and like the original Thrawn trilogy, and Grand Admiral Thrawn is like a really obscure Star Wars character, I guess.
Well,
Like,
F's in chat for the extended universe because that's all not canon or something now, right? Like,
yeah,
what
yeah,
the hell,
yeah, yeah.
Disney? Yeah.
Yeah, but I read the original Thrawn trilogy and I read the new Thrawn trilogy, which is canon. And there's like so for the Chiss have this thing like where like some of their kids are force sensitive, like Jedi, and they can see glimpses of the future. And that gift is called Third Sight. So I named the song Third Sight because I thought that was just like a cool thing. And I was like just so deep in those books for a little while. Like
Well, and it gave you a vision of the future, the tracker vision.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that's pretty much all there is to say about that. If you, by the way, if anyone here wants to learn any of this stuff, like the module, like where, like like meaning like the file is available in my Discord, and I will drop a link to my Discord
Oh,
right
hold on a
now.
sec. Hold on. Let me make sure that you're modded because only mods can put stuff in my chat. Oh yeah, you better believe it. Where are you? Sorry, let me grab your username here. What the heck are you hiding? Oh my god, there you are.
Okay.
There you go. You can drop that link now. That should work.
Okay. So if you guys join my Discord server, the entire module for the album is there and you can download it. You don't need any plugins or anything. That's the cool thing about Famitracker. You just need to have Famitracker and you need a PC to run Famitracker. So yeah, so that's all there is with that. Then I guess we could talk about Little Chunky.
Little Chunky.
So my dog, we call her Little Chunky. That's her pet name. Her actual name is Ahsoka, which is another Star Wars character.
Yeah, it is. Nice.
But but we just call her Little Chunky like half the time, and Stinky. That's her other name. Like, so she has a lot of fun little pet names, and but that's like Little Chunky was actually, all jokes aside, I was trying to see like, well, I wanted to mess with swing. I wanted to try doing a swing groove in
Mm,
Famitracker and to figure out like how would I accomplish this. Unfortunately, there's this guy Brand Flakes. He's a great chiptune artist. He's on YouTube. He's pretty big on YouTube. He had a module that really demonstrates like how to place notes in a way that gives you like a somewhat swung feel in Famitracker. So that was like, a lot of these songs honestly are like me just like having an idea and just like, how do I figure this out? How do I make this happen? Like with the tools that I have here.
mhm.
So, I got to like touch a little bit back on my background as like a jazz pianist and like, traditional jazz, and trying to like port that into Famitracker and into like the 8-bit style. So like there's like a reference at the beginning to the Miles Davis Bye Bye Blackbird intro. Like there's a lot of stuff like that. There's a lot of little Easter eggs in there like that. The bridge is like really inspired by Nelward. I don't know if you guys listen to much Nelward, but he's got this song Popscotch. It's now oh wait,
Oh gosh, yeah.
I just saw this in the chat. This is so funny. Um Great. Now I'm
Yeah.
imagining Anakin calling Ahsoka Little Chunky. Wait, heck yeah, Knower. What about
Yeah.
Knower? See, a lot of people say that I sound like Knower, but when you put my track, like seriously, guys, listen to one of my tracks and then go listen to a Lewis Cole track. They actually don't sound anything alike, like not even slightly. Like, but I think the reason is Lewis really did pioneer this whole thing of like doing electronic music and like having some more advanced harmony and stuff like that. And like he's like, so like pretty much anytime you hear electronic music now with like some kind of like inkling of jazz in it, people are immediately like, oh, like that's like Nowhere. Like, which I mean cred to him. Like that's like he did it so well that like for from now on he's like the standard bearer for that kind of thing. And
But you've been in his shadow long enough. I think we can witness the rise of Jake Silverman.
yeah. Well, I mean, it's just totally different thing,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But um, but yeah, what was I saying? Little
Little
Chunky.
chunky. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that now I know why they said Nowhere. I said Nelward.
Now
Nelward
word.
is a
Right.
different artist than
That's how.
Nowhere. Nowhere is another guy. Um, uh, and then yeah. Did you have any questions about anything that I know I'm just
What,
kind of
little
plowing
chunky?
through the songs,
No. That's all good. I don't have like anything specific. I'm enjoying hearing about your creative process. I
Yeah.
do. I think that there is a lot of inspiration that you can glean from those, like, I guess I want to say more like technical processes, some of those more like technical like practicing like your chops and stuff like that. Like you find some like nifty little things in there that like maybe aren't put out that often into like popular songs or something like that, and you just kind of like, oh, this is great, this is how can I turn this into something more, and you kind of like give yourself like this little box to play in,
Mm-hmm.
and then some really cool stuff comes out of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then the next song that I did was Bubblegum.
Hmm.
But that wasn't actually the next song that I made. I made the Barber Sonata arrangement third. But I made Bubblegum as a response to that because I needed to like chill. Like I needed something that was like the Barber Sonata. I worked so hard on that. I was at least clocking like 5 hours a day like just at sitting at Famitracker like looking at the score, and like that was so much we'll get into the barber sonata in a little bit. There's
Yeah.
a lot to talk about there, but
Bubblegum was your respite from that.
yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it's like I wanted to write something that like kind of had a little more of a laid back attitude, and not so much like moving harmony, not so like, and some like more singable melodies, and I think I definitely accomplished that. And I was doing it on stream, so like at the end, like somebody said like you should make the first contemporary Christian like chiptune album, like some joke, like I don't know, for some reason they thought some part that I wrote was like sounded churchy or something, and I was like, and then like towards the end it started to get like really like spiritual because of that. Like I kind of just went with the joke, and I just like started to like I just like, yeah, and we were all laughing so much during those streams. It
Well,
was really fun. um yeah, there's not much to say about that. I mean, in terms of like, if you guys are curious about like the theory behind all of these, like, just go download the module and you can look at all the stuff. Like,
mhm.
and you can also ask me anytime. But like, I don't want to like get too into the details, like, because like I could talk about like every chord change, but it's just like that's like it's too specific.
Oh, well, we'll
Uh,
definitely encourage people to go join your
yeah,
Discord and maybe dig into that discussion there for sure.
yeah.
Oh man,
Uh,
you were talking a little bit more about Sayadina
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
backstage as well.
So yeah, like I was telling Josh, and like I said earlier, I read a lot of books during the pandemic. Like when you don't have anything to do and nowhere to go, like may as well read some books. And I actually came to discover that I really do love reading. It had been a very long time since I had like really read extensively, and I read many of the Dune books, the original Dune books and the prequel to Dune books that Brian Herbert's son wrote. And so the song Sayadina is named after the tribal priestesses of the Fremen, which are the people who live on Arrakis. And I mean, for those of you who don't know anything about Dune, you should just go see the movie. The movie
Do it.
is amazing.
Yeah.
It's so good. That'll tell you everything. But I was really moved by those books. They're absolutely masterful literature. And but yeah, Sayadina, it's like, I wanted to do something that was like in 3/4. I didn't have anything that was in 3/4 up to this point. And like when you're thinking about how you're programming an album, like that's one easy way to like create contrast is like different meters. Like the meter really sets the tone of the groove and the feel of the song. So, pretty standard harmonic ideas. And I mean, I guess I could also say that was one uh where I was trying to work more with extended harmony, and harmony is like really tough to do in Famitracker because you only have like pretty much, in terms of if you want to imply harmony, imply chords, you have two channels. So you have to do everything through arpeggiation. That's how you get that's the best way to get the most color out of your harmony in Famitracker. So that song definitely explores a lot of different arpeggiation techniques, and it's also just when I had a lot of fun, just like writing through and just like expanding on different ideas and accompaniment. It's such a like with all of these songs, it's such an interesting challenge to take 4 or 5 channels and try to make it sound like so much more than that. I was able to like, I do test this with people. I'll like put this on for people in the car who don't know anything about chiptune, like, but friends of mine who know that I'm making chiptune, but they don't know anything about like the specifics. So I'll say like, how many tracks do you think I have? And almost always they say like 10. And it's like 5 or 4, like, and that's the beauty of chiptune. When you do it well, you can make something with so little that sounds like so much, you know, and
Hmm.
you can really it's the art of filling space creatively, you know, within like really restrictive limitations. So, yeah, that's the best way I know how to describe it.
Does that change at all when you perform live? Because you're sitting there with your keys and stuff like that. Like,
Not really, because when I perform live, all I'm doing is taking one part of the song that's already written and that's already programmed in, and I'm just learning how to play that one part. So I'm
hmm
not really fundamentally changing anything that's going on in
hmm
the piece. I'm just assigning one of the parts to myself and then learning that part. But because of the way that I'm writing, it does make learning the parts like a lot harder because I'm not really writing them with like, oh, well, how would a person play this? Like, I don't really think about that. And I don't think I should think about that. I think it's better to like just be imaginative and creative and then just figure it out when it's time to like, work out how you're going to do it live.
yeah,
So, yeah.
true to
Um
form, not waiting for it to be perfect before you put it out there, right?
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly. Because you could polish something forever, like, and some people do, and then they never release music. And it's like, okay, guess you're just not gonna have music out, like,
yeah.
um
If that's what you want, a almost perfect demo for your ears only.
I mean, and every time you make something, you learn something new. So that's the thing. Like that's why I really don't recommend spending like a whole year on a song, you
Mhm.
know? Like um
Well, how long did it take you to put this album together? Or yeah.
well, first I had to learn Famitracker, and so that started at pretty much in April. As soon as I got back from the Grammys, I
Mhm.
just started learning. I just like I mean, I felt really validated after that experience.
Definitely.
Having so I was like I felt like I could afford to take a risk in completely changing how I made music, you know?
Mhm.
Like and so it took me about honestly it took me like a month to learn to really get a handle on Famitracker. I'm still learning. I shouldn't act like I because like honestly like the chiptune community is just full of absolute fucking geniuses. And like every time I meet one of these guys, like my whole perspective is just flipped upside down. Like I thought I knew a lot, and then I realized that I didn't know anything at all. And so I'm still learning, and I'm still always being wowed by other artists in this community. Um, oh,
That's
sorry
still
about that.
that's still very impressive though. Like get home from, just like yeah, I just got home from winning a Grammy. I think I'm just gonna take some artistic risks and put together an album
Yeah,
in
absolutely.
4 months or
There was no better time for me to do that than after winning a Grammy. I felt very confident in doing that. Um, you know, and yeah, so the album came together in a very natural way. It was like, yeah, it was probably, it took longer to release, unfortunately, because of DistroKid, Side Eye. They really blew it on the it was supposed to come out in September, but it ended up
Mm.
coming out in October. But like I probably finished all of the writing by June, and I think I started it in late April. So not very much time, you know.
very long at all.
Um and then yeah. But anyway, let's keep going down the list.
Yeah, yeah, we got Beat Fighter.
Yeah, Beat Fighter, that was kind of Beat Fighter is probably out of all of them, the one where I most kind of returned to the way that I was writing before, but like in terms of harmony and rhythm, um, like the chord progressions and just the rhythmic feel and the intensity and everything, and trying to see how that would sound in Famitracker and um I mean, Beat Fighter, or like all of these, has like a very through composed thing to it. It doesn't really repeat a lot. Like sections don't really repeat a whole lot.
Hmm.
So I remember definitely consciously thinking about that while I was writing. Like I want this one to be like more unpredictable and more evolving and developing. And there's like a return at the very, very end to the opening motif, and that's how the song closes out. But but yeah, that one definitely a return to my my bass harmonic and rhythmic instincts for sure. Yeah.
Right on.
Okay, let's talk about the
All right,
sonata, because
let's dig in.
that's really what I'm. Yeah, that honestly, that's the one I'm most proud of, because the Barber Piano Sonata is a very intense piece. Like there are many instances in that piece where you have way more than, 5 notes even being played at a time. So
Hmm.
figuring out how I was going to imply like harmony that's this dense, like so insanely dense for so much of the piece, and just like figuring out how to make the piece sing in this format and sound musical and not sound dry. I had to use a lot of channel delay, which is like in Famitracker, since you don't have effects plugins, it's not like a DAW where you can just like click and drag your delay effect on there. If you
Yeah.
want a delay, you have to program it in. So like with louder and softer notes. So there's a lot of that going on. Um for like I was talking about just a second ago with the really dense chords and stuff, I had to figure out how to arpeggiate that stuff in a way that was like musical, that doesn't just sound like, oh, like here's a chord, gotta arpeggiate to let people know there's a chord there. But like, because like you want to keep it fresh, you don't want to be using the same arps every single time you come across a chord. So like pretty much the entire piece, I have a score next to me. I have a few recordings that I'm listening to as reference, like in terms of like how the piece is performed, like what parts are slowed down and sped up. And that was another thing in that piece,
Oh,
like
yeah.
because it's a classical piece, you can't just like have it at the exact same tempo the entire time. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You don't want it to sound like it's to a click. So like Famitracker, there is a speed and temp. There are speed and tempo text commands, but like using those in a way that like sounds organic
Mm.
and like really like keeps the piece alive. That was another challenge. There were many challenges. I would describe it as this. I would look at the score and fit and like, just look at 8 bars and be like, how am I going to make this 8 bars sing? How am I what needs to be going on in Famitracker to make this like really compelling? So, and honestly, that one piece alone, it taught me so much about using the software. Like I really did feel so confident in using it, and it's been really helpful for when I've tried using other trackers. So yeah, that's the Barber Sonata. I'm extremely proud of that one for
As you
sure.
should be. Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
props builder right there.
And also Barber is probably, I hadn't checked him out much before listening to that piece, but he's probably one of my favorite American composers now. Just like one of the most unique compositional voices of the last century, for sure. Okay, and then last but far from least, like just I've decided going forward that I don't want to just be all VGM covers.
Hmm.
Like I was doing a lot of VGM covers before, and there's a lot of reasons why I don't want to do that anymore. One, licensing is expensive.
Yeah.
Every time you release a cover, you got to license it, and that costs money. And when you do that for like an entire album, that cost adds up. And it also like another thing is just like I am more like that's like VGM covers are a way to build an audience for sure. And I think establishing myself as a VGM adjacent or VGM artist, like
Yeah.
that has definitely been a significant way that I've built my audience on Instagram. People are really drawn to that stuff. But in terms of like I am way more interested in making art than I am in just like just like constantly trying to pander to what people are familiar with.
Hmm.
And now this project is kind of evolved, and so I'll still do covers. I think it's cool to include one cover on an album just to like give people that kind of that olive branch, like
Yeah.
here's something, like but to still but to
But you're gonna listen to everything else that's just me to get to it.
yeah. Well, I mean, even if they don't, that's fine. But
Right.
like,
Yeah.
um, yeah, but like so now when I pick but here's the cool thing about doing one cover per album now, one VGM cover per album, is
Hmm.
it really makes me think a lot harder about what I want to cover.
Right.
Like I'm not just gonna cover any old song, you know.
Yeah.
I'm gonna cover something that's like really special to me. So Final Fantasy VII, I mean, there's no shortage of tracks to choose from. They're all amazing. Nobuo Uematsu is one of the greatest ever to live, and it was, I mean, it was actually hard to. I knew I wanted to do something from Final Fantasy VII, but I wasn't sure which one because I mean, there's just endless tracks. But then I realized, Let the Battles Begin, like that. It has like a driving tempo. Well, it Let the Battles Begin or Those Who Fight. Those are the two names of the
Right.
song.
Yeah.
But it has such a powerful tempo and like great themes, and I just saw a ton of potential there for an interesting arrangement. So I do a little bit of reharmonizing on this one. I do yeah, I do. I experiment a lot, and then I mean the second half of the piece though is kind of my own thing. It kind of breaks off into this something that's like totally different, totally unexpected. But there's a return at the very end to the original theme. But yeah, I mean, I had a absolute that's my second favorite track on the whole album next to
Oh,
the barber. I'm very proud of the barber. But yeah, I very much enjoyed doing Let the Battles Begin. And yeah, there's going to be more music coming soon. Yeah. Does anyone
definitely.
have any questions?
Yeah, let's open up the chat to questions here. I've got the link to the release on Bandcamp there. You can go and help Jake pay for all of that expensive licensing that he's had to do throughout his
Yeah.
musical
How
career.
hard is it to get licensing? It's not hard to get licensing. If you distribute, well, here's the thing. Here's what I'm going to tell everybody. Don't use DistroKid if you have to do cover song licenses, because here's the deal with DistroKid. They will, first of all, they charge you annually. You have to pay every year for the license that you get from them. But second of all, they don't even give you a license. They give you a letter that says they have either obtained the license or are working on it. They're either working on getting it's a rip. It's terrible. And you know what? They release music that's not licensable.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
really shit. You can get in big trouble for that. I mean, best case scenario, the license holder can just say, "Hey, you need to take this down." Like they can send you a cease and desist. And worst case scenario, they can sue you. But I mean, you have to make some money for there to be damages, of course. But
Right.
but why take the risk? So DistroKid is bad for that. Sounddrop, they will not release something if it can't be licensed.
Yeah.
So They really keep track of that stuff, and it's only $9 and you're done. You pay once and you're done. That's it.
Well, it's 99 cents per composition now, isn't it? They
For
updated that like this past year.
wait, like 99 cents per license?
Yeah.
That's a lot. Like
It,
what? As
they,
in
like
one dollar?
it took a steep drop, and it
Whoa! I didn't
yeah.
even realize that.
So yeah, so
Well,
next
that
time,
even better, even
yeah,
better. So go
Sound
with
Drop,
Sound Drop.
they've got your back. Yeah.
Don't even bother with DistroKid. Um, so uh, I mean, yeah, but also like I mean, DistroKid really bought like they had some weird shit going on with their sorry, I don't know if
Don't worry about
cursing
the
is
language. Don't
okay.
worry about it.
Yeah. They had some weird stuff going on with their licensor this year, Harry Fox. And that's why my album, and they didn't even tell me my album was not even in stores like 3 days before release. I'm like expecting this thing to be coming out, and I'm just like, whoa, why is this not in any stores? Like, this is nowhere. And they didn't even tell me. So, yeah, in terms of the licensing stuff, that's sorry to get into the whole spiel, but now you guys know.
Yep.
So, that's the deal there. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, well, I mean,
Any
like,
other questions?
yeah, let's bring forward some questions, folks. In the meantime, you've got kind of a lot of stuff coming down the pipe for yourself too, don't
Oh
you?
yeah. Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Quite a lot.
So apart from the rest of the volumes that are going to be a part of your tracker vision, you've got a good number of shows coming up.
That's right. Well, also I do have this month I made a Super Nintendo remix of Thriller. That's coming out with DJ Cutman.
That's a good collab right there.
Yeah, that's our third track together. We have a lot of stuff coming down the pike together. So, been super grateful for his mentorship and help. He's been a huge help.
Yeah.
Oh, we got some
We got some
questions.
questions. All right, let's hit those questions. Favorite game console?
Jeez, that's hard. Probably the Super Nintendo, honestly. I've like the Super Nintendo definitely has the most games that I've beaten all the way through.
Hmm.
And also it's my favorite music. So, by far my favorite music. The SPC 700 is I have a very deep affinity for that sound chip. So, yeah, I love the Super Nintendo. Favorite game genre, probably JRPG. But it depends on the kind. Like, I'm not a fan of Xenoblade Chronicles. Too many menus and too many skill trees and shit like that. Like, I'm really into Secret of Mana, Terranigma, um, like the original Final Fantasies, like Final Fantasy 4, 5, and 6, and
Yeah.
7. Chrono Trigger. I'm really into games like that. JRPGs are definitely some of my favorites. I love platformers also. Yeah. Oh, okay. Any more Barber or other classical chiptune arrangements coming out? I'm definitely thinking about it. I haven't decided what I would do yet, but yes, that is absolutely a possibility. Okay, sorry. It's late. It's late on the East Coast.
That's all good.
Once you've downloaded it, how do you get started with Famitracker? Okay, so my best advice to anyone is first watch the tutorials. There are a few really good tutorials on YouTube for Famitracker. But second, like join my server, ask people like to send you modules. You can use my module. And what you do is you take a song that you like and then you open a blank Famitracker window, like a completely blank session, and you recreate the song that you like note for note, data point by data point, and that gets you used to entering the data and learning what everything does. I did that with one song, and that's how I learned Famitracker, like completely. So you have a blank window, and then you have a reference window, and All you're doing is like trying to type in the blank window what you see in the reference window. I highly recommend using a MIDI controller also. It is MIDI controller compatible. So that's how you learn Famitracker. There you go. I hope that's helpful. If not, I give lessons. So you can hit me up for lessons.
There you go. Right on.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Do you have like a timeline on that next or maybe what is the next sound chip that you want to create a Tracker Vision volume for, and do you have a timeline
The
for it?
N163, which is an expansion sound chip for the Nintendo Entertainment System, and it uses wavetable synthesis. It was originally made by Namco.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if I could like imagine an OST that might highlight that, especially what games?
Honestly, there's like only 6 games that
Okay.
use it, and I'm not actually terribly familiar with those games myself, but a lot of people in the chiptune community really love that chip and make amazing stuff with it. So, it's hard to really describe, honestly.
Oh man. Well, you've got some performances coming up that we should definitely highlight
Oh,
as
yes.
well. Uh,
True.
yeah.
So October 28th, I'm gonna be at the Goodbye Look in Seattle, with my colleague Jacob Richards, great drummer and electronic musician. On November 11th, I'm gonna be in Los Angeles opening for Talk at the Terragram Ballroom, which is a really incredible venue. I'm very excited for that. And then on the 13th, I'll be in San Francisco at the DNA Lounge.
Nice.
8-Bit SF is putting on a show at the DNA Lounge, and I'm very excited for that.
Heck yeah. Um, and online as well. You're going to be performing for VGM
Oh,
together.
VGM together on October 22nd.
Right
How could
on.
I forget?
Yeah.
It's gonna
That's
be
this
great.
Saturday. Oh man, and we love VGM together, of course, over here at Bonus Stage. So definitely go and check that out. Yeah, folks, unless there are any other questions, I think we're gonna start wrapping things up here. Yeah, it's been really awesome having you on the show here, Jake. Folks, if you're interested in more bonus stage events, we do, of course, have our music online concert that was just announced today. That's going to be next Saturday, October 15th from 2 p.m. till 10 p.m. Pacific. That's 5 p.m. till, oh God, what, 1 a.m. For you folks on the East Coast. And we'll be having the Tiberian Suns join us on Monday, October 17th for a listening of their latest release as well. We just had them on Monday with Frank Klepacki, of course, but we'll be getting them back very soon because those guys also are very creatively busy. Yeah, Jake, it's been a really good time. Thanks
Thanks
for
so much for having me. I very much appreciate it. It was fun.
yeah, definitely,
It's
man. Just
always great to talk about this stuff.
well, it's always great to listen to your music. You're a fantastic artist, and just love everything that you're doing. So yeah, with that, folks, we're gonna say our goodbyes and our good nights. This will be uploaded shortly to YouTube. If anybody that you know happened to miss it, might want to check it out. And until next time, we'll see you later. And good night.